What is up, everybody? Welcome to Lines In Live. We are powered by Battleborn Batteries and presented by Primary Tackle. Guys, thanks for tuning in tonight, man. It's going to be a cool evening hanging out with you guys and hanging out with our guest that's going to be coming on shortly, Jimmy Washam, professional angler fishing the MLF series, also Bassmaster Opens a little bit here and there. But man, it's, we're going to be sitting down with Jimmy, having some open discussion about his season so far this year. And just kind of getting into a discussion with him on overcoming adversity in the sport that we love so much. We as anglers, whether you're a tournament angler or just a weekend fisherman going out there hanging out with your friends, your family, we all go through those slumps, where we just can't seem to, buy a bite. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, this season that's kind of been my story here and there a little bit. So, Jimmy, he's been around the block. He's been through the grind, and he knows better than most on what it takes to stay in the game. So he's going to be tuning in with us here shortly. In fact, I think he's loading up his boat from practice out of Chickamauga right now. So life of a pro, man. Jump off the boat and just jump straight onto a podcast. So, but we're excited to have him on. And guys, we're going to be doing a giveaway. My co-host David is not with us tonight. He had something else scheduled for tonight, so we'll miss him. But in lieu of his absence, he's going to be. We got a nice little giveaway that we're going to be doing that David, gave to us from Primary Tackle. So we greatly appreciate him for that. Just want to throw out a little reminder for anybody that may be new to the podcast. Again, thank you all for joining us tonight, man. And what we have going on, this is a kayak fishing podcast, and we have a kayak tournament going on May 29th. It is in support of St. Jude, which is a local children's research hospital. It is one of our crown jewels here in the West Tennessee area, and we're always grateful for the opportunity to give back to them. So the St. Jude Bass Classic has been going on for 48 years. This is their 49th year running. They raised over $4.5 million, and we are adding a kayak open or kayak tournament this year to run in conjunction with that. So we're excited for the opportunity to add that kayak tournament and help raise even more money for that cause. I'm going to share with you guys real quick how you can sign up for that. It's actually it is going to be held on Enid Lake May 29th, so that's Memorial Day weekend. So that's Sunday, and two ways that you can register. A little bit unorthodox where our kayak guys, we're used to registering through TourneyX or through the Bassmaster website if you fish one of those. But I'm going to share this up on the screen real quick, how you can mail in your registration. Go over to our website, linesinyakfishing.com. We got a St. Jude Kayak Classic tab created right here for you guys. And this is all the information about that. We're going to be giving away first place, a Hobie Passport 12. So a very awesome. I don't even think you can really consider it a starter kayak because it's a pedal drive kayak. It's customizable. It has the Mirage drive, so very efficient drive that is very sought after in these Hobie boats. I use one myself, and it is absolutely amazing. So a nice little prize courtesy of Hobie and S.Y. Wilson, that we're going to be giving away to first place. And then, of course, this is our payout structure as it stands, with just based on, whoever registers. So even if we have 10 people register, that's what we're paying out. But all the proceeds will be, going to St. Jude. But you can go down here to, say we got Jimmy coming in. Mute him real quick. He's getting his boat loaded up. But you can go right here to this tab, St. Jude Kayak Classic Registration. You can download that form, and then this is the address, or has the address on there, and it's also right here on the flyer to where you can mail that in. And then if you can't get that registration in by the deadline, which is May the 15th, then you can show up in-person registration at the Batesville Civic Center in Batesville, Mississippi, and you can register that way. And that goes for both the kayak tournament as well as the bass boat tournament. And that's going to be between 1 and 3 on that Saturday. All right. All right, I see Jimmy in here. We're gonna get him in here in a second. I want to just say a little, a quick shout out to my guys, West Tennessee Bass Yackers. They had a pretty awesome showing out of Browns Creek this past weekend. Had 30 anglers show up. Man, that's pretty awesome. So the club is growing. That's really cool. You had a lot of other tournaments that were held over the weekend. KBF National Championship. Congratulations to Dylan Lowry. He took over the overall 2-day win, including the Pro Series event win. Eric Siddiqui came in first on the first day. And so, man, they were tearing them up on Gunnersville this past weekend. I was pretty jealous of all those anglers out there, but a lot of really great fish caught. So congratulations to all those guys. Jimmy. Hey, man, I hear you. I see you. I'm going to get you in here. You ready to roll? All right. Sweet. There he is.
Good evening.
Fresh off the water, man. Still putting the rod sleeves on.
Oh, yeah. Fishing's kind of tough, so I got to get every second I can.
Man, I don't blame you. Dude, you've been on the road, man. Pickwick and then Ross Barnett. Now you're down at Chick, getting ready for that.
Yeah, and I'm going to go straight from this one to Gunnersville.
So is this pre-practice correct for this one, or is the tournament?
No, this is a Toyota series. It starts Thursday.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so man, I just want to say, dude, I appreciate. I mean, you're busy. You're doing the professional angler thing, man. You're on the road a lot, so I appreciate you taking the time out to come hang out with us tonight. It sucks, David, is not in the house with us, but we'll have to catch up with him next time.
Yeah, that's right.
But just guys, everybody. I'm sure everybody listening knows who you are, but man, MLF title champion. Winner out on the upper Mississippi River, been at this for a while, man. And this year is, your first year, you left the day job, and you're doing this full time now. So, man, I just want to ask you, dude, are you having fun?
I really am. Despite the fact that I've had a little bit of a rough start to this year, it's my dream. Anytime that I'm tired or wish that, I didn't have to stay on the water 14 hours or any of that, I think back to where I came from and realize I really got it made. So I am having fun.
Dude, I could imagine. That's awesome. I mean, so when did the dream start for you? Did it start when you were a kid, or did it develop as you grew up?
Yeah, when I was, 3 years old, I would play in the living room and have my little setup with my toy fish and my fishing rod and pretend I was, winning the Bassmaster Classic. So, it's ever since then. When I was 5 or 6, my mom would take me down to a little neighborhood lake and I'd pretend I was in a tournament. When my dad would take me to Sardis and let this Jeep get by. He's got a noisy exhaust.
All right.
Yeah, my dad would take me to Sardis, and I'd pretend like, we were about to have to go weigh in. We had to catch one more fish. So it's been a dream of mine ever since I was a little kid. Yeah.
So the first time I ever ran into you was at Glen Springs. You were in your patrol SUV, And was that even your area, or were you just rolling through just to check out the lake?
I would that. Of course, I worked all of Tipton County, and but I
Okay.
did like to go spend time at Glen Springs to, if I had a quick break to go do a report or catch up on some paperwork, just because I love the water, and that was the best place to do it there in Tipton County.
Yeah. Well, I know you fish that lake a lot. So was that kind of the lake you grew up on?
No, it was one. Sardis would be the lake that I would say I grew up on, and then it kind of went to some, a little bit of a tough time with the largemouth bass virus, but that's really where I learned how to fish. Glen Springs was where I fished a lot in my teenage years with my dad, and then um, as I got older, it was somewhere where I could go that wasn't a long drive. So I did really. That's where I learned how to fish grass for sure.
There's a lot in there.
All the techniques I've applied literally all over the country when it comes to millful or any grass for that matter, I learned at Glen Springs.
Yeah, for what it is, man, it's a pretty diverse little lake. I mean, you can really learn a lot there. I mean, as you said, I mean, it's first time I was over there, I was like, dude, this is like a little miniature Lake Fork, I mean, you got some long taper points, you got grass, you got creek channels, timber, all that great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's a cool place.
You were just mentioning Sardis, so I was just sharing with everybody the St. Jude Open coming up this month, and I believe David said that you're going to be there doing the awards on Sunday for the Bass guys.
Yes, sir. I'll be the MC for the weigh-in there on Sunday.
Sweet, that's awesome. Yeah, it's going to be a good show. I hope it's going to be a good turnout, man. As you know, we're adding the kayak deal this year, and we'll see. Hopefully, we get at least 50 guys show up. I've gotten quite a few phone calls for it, so it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, they always bring a lot of proceeds to St. Jude, so that's what matters. I'm honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, man, $4.5 million they raised over the 48 years they've been doing. That's incredible.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, as coming from Memphis, that's kind of like our crown jewel out here, man. We like to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, recently you left the day job, and I mean, really not just a day job. A great career, in law enforcement, and you just moved out to Pickwick. So, how is it like, for you? I mean, dude, I'm excited for you, man, because it's a part of the dream. I'm sure, just to make it to that level and then be able to live right there on one of your favorite lakes. So how's the time on the water? Is it I'm sure before with working a full-time job and having a young family and everything, you probably, when you got out on the water, it was probably just practice and fishing tournaments. For the most part, so what's it like being able to get out there as much as you want? And is it changing a lot of things for you?
Well, I don't know yet because I've only been to Pickwick twice, other than the tournament that I just finished. But things will slow down. We're right in the heat of tournament season, but I'll tell you what's awesome. I can drive 20 minutes and put my boat in Pickwick. I know this summer, when it gets hot and the fish are offshore, I can go fishing for 2 or 3 hours in the evening and get in on the best bite or go night fishing, and I don't have to worry about driving home 2 hours and being dog tired and going to work the next morning. So it's really awesome being right there that close to really my favorite lake.
Yeah. So well, I'm sure you're a little disappointed in the first tournament since moving out there. But one of the big things I wanted to just have an open discussion with you about. I want to hear we want to talk about your season, how it's going and stuff so far. You mentioned a little bit, but as man, we all go through these slumps and stuff. But honestly, man, you come right back out of it and you go down to Ross Burnett, get a 5th place finish, dude. It's pretty awesome. But my first question for you is, what was the drive like for you going from Pickwick to Ross Barnett? What's in Jimmy's head, man? Are you listening to Katy Perry, crying your eyes out, or are you motivating yourself and getting geared up for the next one?
No, I made I guess it was about a 4.5 hour drive to Barnett and never turned the radio on. I just thought and just sorted, drive time's a good time for me to sort stuff out. And I finally had this epiphany that I wish I'd have had after the first bad event I had, which was back in February at Guntersville in a Toyota series. I realized that what I had done in all of these events, and especially Pickwick because of all my history, is I made these predetermined plans on how I was going to catch fish. And that's my number one no-no. You just don't do it. You don't make plans, period. You go off of what you see and what you feel. And I finally realized that, and I got to Barnett, and really before I even put the boat in the water, I knew I was going to catch them. And I've never caught them at Ross Barnett. I just got my head right, and it's sad that it's such a fragile thing because it would be awesome to, like last year, man, I don't care where you took me or what kind of conditions you put me in, I was going to catch fish, and it was, most of it was right here.
Yeah.
It's such a fragile thing. I wish that you could just capture it and keep it, all the time. Some of the greatest to ever fish, like I can't imagine what was in KVD's head, for all those years that he caught them and never stumbled really. It's just, for me, I understand that I'll probably go through this in my fishing career, and I hope it's a long one, and I hope that it's long enough for me to have it happen a few times, and it's the way I was as a hitter in baseball. I would hit 500 one week, and I would hit 100 the next week, and I just was a slumpy type hitter, and I think a lot of that is that, being in that zone as an athlete is something that's hard to come by. And when you get there, you just got to try to hold on to it as long as you can. And then when you get out of it, I think what separates the good ones from the ones that used to be good is figuring out how to get back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way you put that comparison. I mean, I played baseball myself, golf, and a lot of those sports are, the real, the mechanics of it are real finessey. If your swing's out of the, out of line, you can get into those slumps, like you said, and go from a great batting average down to nothing.
Yeah.
In fishing, is kind of the opposite. I mean, your physical mechanics can get off, but it's really like the mental finesse aspect of it. Like you mentioned that can get out of the line. But I wanted to. You mentioned one thing that, and I've heard you do seminars up here at Primary and stuff. I miss doing those, but you mentioned the part about gosh, it just slipped my mind. Excuse me. Predetermined, notions and stuff like that. So, a lot of people, as you well know, man, they come up with some kind of, I guess, predetermined idea of what the fish may be doing. Is that a big no-no for you, or do you just kind of go into it like, I'm just going to go out here and just see what the fish are, what they're doing on the day?
There's definitely a certain amount of thought that you have to put into it before you go, and a lot of that for me is I want to make sure I have the things that I might need. I don't want to get to the lake and say, and just do zero research or thought.
Sure.
I definitely want to consume myself in the thought of catching fish at my next event, but I don't want to have all these plans and make a checklist and say, okay, I'm going to catch them flipping wood, and if I don't, then I'll catch them on points, and if I don't, then I'm going to catch them in grass, and I'm going to catch them on this bait or this one, because what you do there is it's the same way as the night before a tournament when you make plans on where you're going to start and then where you're going to fish next, and then the time, the spot after that. It's the same thing. You're making a plan, and when that plan fails, you don't adjust. So that's really, that predetermined checklist is something that I know not to do, but I just found myself doing it. And Pickwick, it was really bad. I thought about all the ways I'd caught them in April. Just a couple years ago, I had an incredible day on a big spinnerbait when they were pulling water, and so that was in my head. I thought about all the times I'd caught them skipping docks with a jig, and I tried to fish all those things in one day, and I didn't just adjust to the elements, and I never slowed down enough to really even give a fish a chance to bite.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're the way you guys are, y'all launch off and you're running 60, 70 miles an hour down the lake, so, what is at least, is there one or two check boxes like, okay, I'm going to make my first decision based on the wind direction. How do you go into a day, at least, where do you start based on what you determine?
So I've fished for all of my life. And for me, and this is not going to be for everybody, but for me, I just go off of what I feel. And there's a difference in what you think and what you feel. And when you feel something, it's totally different than, well, I think the water temperature is this, it's cloudy and this and that, and the fish should be doing this. And when you feel it, I mean, you literally, for me, when there's something that I feel right here instead of up here, then I better go do it. That's just that's the way that God designed us, is to have dominion over the fish of the sea. It's in Genesis, and we have to take advantage of that, and the instinct that you build as you fish and as you learn and as you experience things. That's the best way to apply that, is just going off a feel. So, the weather conditions, and a lot of that is from learning fishing those type of weather conditions or time of year or what have you. But so somebody that started fishing, in March of this year probably doesn't have the same feeling that somebody that's been fishing 30 years would have. But you don't have to have fished all of your life to get those feelings or that confidence. Really, that's another form of it, is confidence baits or confidence techniques. And for me, yes, I have some confidence techniques, but the most confidence that I have is when I'm fishing off of what feels right.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was one of the questions I had for you. I was going to kind of save it for later, but since we're kind of on that topic, confidence, I've heard it so many times, like, well, I'm going to go out, I'm going to throw that jig, God, that's where I got confidence. And, and sometimes, for some people, it's kind of like that last minute thing, well, if this is not working and that's not working, well, I'm just going to grab my confidence, and go after it. Do you feel like that can kind of really mess with people when they have like a confidence bait, and like for you, for as long as I've been following you, which has just been a few years, you seem you have a very large, diverse, arsenal. But I've mentioned, I've heard you say, before, I should have picked up that, that black bass tackle jig and just went down the bank, But is that something that you kind of keep in your back pocket? If the goings get tough, I'm just going to pull that out. Or, hey, that the flipping jig may not necessarily be what you need to do, when the going gets tough. It may not be the best thing. What's your take on confidence lures, confidence techniques, and and how soon is that something that you're going to reach for?
The most important thing to me is being able to spend your time in productive water, and then depending on where I determine that productive water is, then I've got confidence baits that I'll use from New York to Florida. Like for one, if I know there's some fish in grass. We're not talking about like matted up grass where you're flipping with a big stick, but if I know there's some fish in submerged grass, then I love a jerk bait. I love a jerk bait and a chatter bait, and I'll catch them on that if I know that I've found some fish. I don't care where it is. I'll put it in my hand and know that I can make them bite it. So that's the way I see with confidence. In the springtime, I have really any time around rock or hard bottom type stuff, I have tremendous confidence in that little tour bound jig. And the list goes on and on. So really, I don't say that there's that one bait that I lock in my hand, depending on where I am, because I fish so many different types of fisheries. It's, I guess there's a confident bait or two for each type of situation I might be faced with. If things are getting complicated or I can't figure the fish out, and I've got one of those situations, and I'll go to one of those confidence baits.
Yeah, makes sense. That's kind of my same thought. Is the best baits for the. I mean, lures are like tools. You got a toolbox. Which one makes the most sense for the situation that you're dealt with. In the moment. But we got a couple of guys in the comments. Some names might sound familiar to you. Cody Hughes, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Cody.
Jason Carr, he likes your hat and the hammer rods. He's a big hammer rods guy himself. So, Steve Lau, what's going on, man? Again, I wanted to say, everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. So we're on the discussion of, we're just kind of talking and opening up the discussion and whatnot. And I've got some, I got some questions that I want to ask you about overcoming adversity. And like as you mentioned, you kind of had a little bit of a rocky, start to your season, and it happens. And I mean, I hope you have a very long career in this as well. But I'm sure it won't be the first time you go through a couple of rocky events. But dude, I mean, you bounced back from it, got the Ross Barnett 5th place, but This one really stood out to me. You posted up on social media, and I think a lot of people can relate to it because you hear the Iconellis, screaming, hollering, fish to the last minute and all that kind of stuff, never give up. But you said I made 3 calls in the last 10 minutes, so we're talking about this is the second day of Ross Barnett, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so you made 3 calls in the last 10 minutes, dude. I mean, when you sit there and you process that, I mean, if anybody who knows bass fishing, you're out there 8 hours, and you're grinding. It's, your mental game is going on. You're in the zone, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're just all over the place. But to stick with it, it's not. Sometimes it seems like the magic answer. If you fish to the last minute, you're going to catch those coals or that 5th fish that you need. It don't always happen that way, but it did for you in this situation. So my question is, when the going's tough, how do you stay confident in what you're doing? And I kind of want to give a reference. You've probably seen the pictures or the memes of like the 2 miners. Two of them are digging, and one of them gives up. And the other guy, he keeps digging, and he finds that gold on the other side. So in this situation, you found a little bit of that gold. So how do you stay confident in what you're doing to know that I just got to stick with this long enough, and then I'll achieve what I'm trying to achieve?
I guess some of that comes with my personality and being competitive and playing sports growing up. I don't know if it's confident or stubborn or just very competitive, but I'm not giving up until they tell me to. The last minute, and if I work my tail off and then that last minute comes and it doesn't happen, that's all right. The next one I'm going to work just as hard. But I can't stress how many times I've had little things happen towards the end of a day in a tournament where, maybe if I was tired and had lost my competitive drive, I wouldn't have picked up on them. And it can be something that doesn't even give me results that day. It could be something that goes into the next day that helps me make an adjustment. Like
right.
At net, what I noticed is I was really kind of bummed out because I had a good area, and on day 1 there was 19 boats in the area, which is a lot, but it was a pretty good size pad flat, and I was able to manage. I had about a 50-yard stretch of pads that I was able to get the best out of. And then the next day there was 40 boats, and I was kind of bummed out because I literally had to pole down, and I could have hit 3 different boats with a cast, and it was just people trying to salvage. They had a bad first day and went somewhere where they knew other guys were catching them, and it really put a lot of strain on me. And finally, those boats, some of them had to start weighing in, and the area opened up a little bit, and I was observant. And that morning I'd seen a stump that was sticking up about that much, and a blue heron came and landed on it. It was his house, I think, and he sat there all morning eating shad. Well, about 3:30, I looked over, and that blue heron was still on that stump, but the stump was gone, and the water was up on his ankles. And that right there told me this water has risen just a little bit. And I also noticed that those pads that I was fishing, they didn't seem as thick, and that's because a little bit of water rose, got pushed in there. I don't know if it was a south wind that pushed the water in, or if maybe the lake rose just a little bit. They shut the gates off. So anyway, that told me, that and all the boat pressure, that I probably need to go and try to make an adjustment instead of sitting out here and dying for the last few minutes. And I worked my way up shallow, and at 3:40, I got up to this little reed line. I actually saw a fish hit as I was headed over to it, and that's where there was a good group of fish. I felt like a lot of those fish had pushed up from that pad field up into that hard reed line, and I was able to catch exactly what I needed. I mean, 3 culls, 2 of them were just tiny culls, just a couple ounces. One of them was a pound, but without any 3 of those, I wouldn't have made the top 10, and then I couldn't have went and had a great day the next day.
Yeah. Dude, I love it, man. I love just how you get into in the moment, decisions. It's not like, man, like we talked about at the beginning, going out with a predetermined notion and, well, I'm gonna go out here and flip, and skip these docks until I'm bleeding. And you hear about that, and I think it's, part you just lack of experience. I don't mean that in a negative way, but and then some people get frustrated, like, I'm just going to go out, and I'll be honest, I've said it myself. I'm going to go out, I'm going to put a jerk bait in my hand, and that's what I'm going to do all day. But I think so much. It just really matters what's happening in the moment, that you got to be so in tune with, like you're talking about. It's just, I think you really put yourself at a disadvantage when you go out, and you say, no matter what, this is what I'm going to do, till the sun goes down. But so, seeing those little adjustments, man, and noticing that stuff, you gotta be vigilant. But
I think a lot of it comes down to what kept me from doing that from day one of tournament fishing is fear to make a decision, because you just don't trust yourself, but you've got to make those decisions. And then when you make one and it works out, then man, you just grew 10 points in your confidence, where, if you sat out there and maybe got one more bite or maybe didn't, but you were comfortable because you knew there was some fish there. You had caught them, like in my situation, I'd caught a limit there for, 10 pounds that morning or so. And, I could have stayed and finished those last 30 minutes right there and been comfortable knowing that I've, had a chance catching fish. But when you get past that to where you're not scared to make a decision and fail, and you trust the decision and you wholeheartedly believe that it's the right decision that you make based off your instincts, then that's when you get pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think too, when you can release your mind of all the other worries that comes with tournament fishing, particularly, the money, the time away from your family and stuff like that, the stress you add on yourself, like, well, if I don't catch them, that's time I could have spent at home with my wife, my daughter, whatever the case may be. And just being able to kind of, get that out of your head and take this stress off yourself, that you can really open up your mind to just, being more aware of what's going on around you and dialed in, like you're talking about. But I want to just remind everybody, we are doing a giveaway. So stay tuned to the end of this show. I'm gonna show you what we're giving away from Primary Tackle. Got a couple of Jimmy's sponsored products in there, and then you guys will hear how we're gonna do that giveaway. But Jimmy, I'm gonna take a real quick commercial break, buddy. We're 30 minutes in, and we'll be right back. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
This podcast is proudly powered by Battle-Born Batteries. Let the power of lithium take you on your journeys across the outdoor world. Battle-Born Batteries designs and assembles the industry's top choice for lithium-ion batteries right here in the USA. Reliable, safe, and long-lasting, Battleborn makes for the sustainable and lightweight drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries. Ready to make the switch to lithium and the switch to green energy? All batteries are in stock now. Shop today at battlebornbatteries.com.
All right, we're back. As always, thanks to all of our sponsors that help make this show possible, Battleborn Batteries, as well as Primary Tackle. If you're in the market for a lithium battery, go and check them out, guys. They're made right here in the U.S. Can't get any better than that. All the products in their batteries, except for one, are all manufactured here in the United States. So I love that about them. Building our country, making it a better place. And of course, Primary Tackle. If you need anything, go and see David down at the shop on the square in Arlington, right there in the same building with S.Y. Wilson. You guys know him here on the show. Great guy. He'll take care of you. So we're talking with Jimmy about overcoming obstacles, and we're learning a lot, man. That's what I love. That's what I like to do on this show is try to give people information that's going to make them a better angler. The mental stuff is not always as sexy with people, but it's so important, man. It's so important because if you really want to become a better angler, if you really want to chase that dream of catching that PB or making it to the pro level, you've got to be able to adopt the mental game and get in tune with that. So, Jimmy, you're just coming off a chick, man. I know you're not gonna give it too much, but did you at least have some fun today catching a few?
I finally got a few bites. I got here Sunday. I fished for like 2 hours. I had to do a YouTube video. I got in like midnight after I left Barnett Saturday night, so I was just gassed. And after I got that video edited and posted, and then I got on the lake a little bit. It was really a waste of time. I should have just took a nap. Then Sunday, it was pretty tough. What's today? Tuesday. Let's see. Yeah. So that was Monday. Monday, I got a full day of practice in yesterday, and it was pretty tough for me. My head was kind of swimming when I laid down to go to bed last night as far as what these fish are doing. It's been a different type of year. It's not textbook as far as it starts warming up, fish go to the bank. It's just there's some things that are different. There's brim spawning. The shad spawn seems non-existent. I don't think that really the bass are supposed to spawn, and then the shad spawn, and then the brim spawn. Well, it's not going on that way. So, but today I did finally get some bites. There's a lot going on with the lake as far as how you can get bit, but today I finally made an adjustment where I can actually run around the lake and catch fish. I'm not catching good ones yet, but I caught a couple of decent fish today, 3.5 and a 4. Hopefully, these will continue to build, and I don't think it's going to be a 60-pound. The guy that wins will probably have 60 because there's a huge field.
There's always somebody's going to catch them.
Yeah, you're talking about close to 300 boats, and as many 4 and 5 pounders are in this lake. Somebody will figure it out, but top 10 won't be no 20 pounds a day to get in type deal. It's just a little tricky. The fish are in transition. They're not easy to go out and locate, especially the big fish.
Yeah. Are they opening up any of the adjacent lakes for that tournament?
Yes. Nickajack is open, and I'm not sure about Watts Bar. I'm not sure, but yeah, I do know that you can lock through to Nickajack.
Okay.
An option, but I've never fished Nickajack, and I've got a little bit of experience on chicks, so I figured I'd stay somewhere where I was at least a little bit familiar with the fish. Had I known that it would be so tough, then at least for me, then I might would have went to Nickajack. But I'm a firm believer that making those big audibles where you have to lock through and stuff like that needs to be a very high reward. Something that you're real confident in. And at this point, I think that if things keep developing and I keep putting the puzzle together, hopefully I can catch enough fish to get by here, on chick instead of down.
Man, it's weird. Well, it's funny you mentioned how just that things are weird right now, and that's that's how it was at Eufaula. I mean, totally a little bit further south, but it just everything about it just seemed off. There was a shad spawning going on, but it was really hard to tell what if the fish down there were done spawning. The bluegills, they weren't up there at all. Which they should have been. You got 70-degree water temp, stuff like that. You should see some of that going on. But yeah, I mean, what do you think? What's your thoughts on? Because it's not like we had a real late winter where we had some major winter storms blow through and just blow it out. What's your thoughts on it? I kind of want to say it's a lot to do with the pressure, but I want to hear your thought.
It can, but fishing pressure is not going to stop what nature has to accomplish.
Yeah.
I think we just had a cool late spring. We've had some nice days, so it kind of makes you think that it has been hot for 2 months, but that time where you get that warming trend and the water temperature jumps 10 degrees in about a week, we'd never really had that. We'd have a warm day and then it would be 28 degrees the next night, So I think that has just kind of put a standstill to the progression of the fishery, regardless of where you're at. And that's I'm sitting here trying to act like I'm educated on guessing, but really it's Mother Nature's unpredictable nature has its way of going through the cycle, and it's really never textbook if you think about it. We're always complaining about, well, it's different this year, and it's different every year, but
it is.
The best thing you can do is, instead of trying to figure out why it's that way, is just figure out which way it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think we as anglers, we rush everything because we're coming out of cabin fever. We're ready to get out on the water, get outdoors, and do that first day of full sun hits. And we're like, man, they should be on beds today, son. We're going to go get them, And you get out there and it's not that at all.
Yeah. And also we have this thought in our head that when you get the right weather and that full moon, that all the fish spawn. And that's not true by any means. A lot of them will spawn and then they'll move out, and then you're catching them out on points and stuff, and you don't notice the next wave of spawners because you're not up there fishing for them. So, it definitely doesn't happen all at once.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm gonna dive into the next question for you. Kind of going back on the same topic.
Head to my truck and plug my phone up. Looks like it's
all right. Go ahead.
How's the volume?
The volume's fine. Screen's a little dark, but we know you're still there. We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some lights going.
There you go.
I thought I would switch over to my truck speaker, but okay, we're good.
What service provider are you using out there? Because you're still at the ramp. You got pretty good service, it seems like.
Yeah, AT&T. It's I got a bunch of bars, so thankfully.
Okay, it's always spotty for me out there.
Yeah.
All right, man. So you had a rough finish at Pickwick. I'm sure your expectations or your hopes were high to do good on your home lake. Take another quote, from what you posted up on social media, and this is so true, man. But I think it's different for everybody. We're talking about hardest lessons are best learned, and that's what you got out of Pickwick, and for some people, I think they leave a tournament where it may have been tough. Like, man, I should have pulled that, chrome and blue lipless out, instead of sticking with that, chartreuse blackback, where the case may be. We get a lot of people kind of get too wrapped up in the baits, but to our conversation, we're learning that it's a lot more about the mental game of it. So you're on your home lake, you got all this past experience and stuff like that. What are the lessons that you look for or try to hone in on whenever you have a tough finish? What do you try to take away from an event like that that's just that was really difficult on you?
Well, two things that I think you can benefit from poor performances like my event at Pickwick. The first one is rejuvenated motivation. I mean, I've never been so mad at the fish in my life as I was after day 2 at Pickwick. And the second thing is, it's I guess it would be easier to just forget about it. Go get you a 12-pack and drink it away, or whatever excuse you want to come up with to forget about it. I don't do that. I analyze in my mind why things happen the way they did. I watched live the day after I was eliminated from the event and was watching how guys were catching them, and I tried to put that because there was in that event I had 100-piece puzzle and I had about 3 pieces of it. And I tried to find those other 97 pieces and put them together so I can learn from that event instead of just forget about it and then find myself in a similar situation somewhere down the road. And as you go through, your endeavor of tournament fishing, if you put all those pieces together and you learn something from the bad events, just the same as you do the good events, then you've got those pieces to the puzzle are a little bit easier to find, and you can find them a little bit quicker down the road.
Yeah. Has it ever happened for you where you learned that that it was something to do with with the baits, the lures that you were throwing? Maybe it was a color, like guy said, why he was fishing the same color that maybe you were fishing, and then he switched over. Has it ever been like that for you, or has it always been the something to do with the areas or the patterns or whatever like that you were fishing?
Most of the time, it's going to be finding the fish, getting around fish, and normally I say that now you go to some very pressured fisheries, and sometimes a little color change, you didn't even know you were around fish, and a little bait change, color change, all of a sudden you can't believe how many fish you were around. That does happen, but generally it's about where you're presenting your lure, and it's not exactly the color, or it could be something like what you're trying to imitate, if you're trying to imitate shad or brim or crawfish, but normally it's about where you're putting that bait instead of exactly what bait it is.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I've seen it sometimes where just negating that drop shot was could have been the deal maker. So I like to talk a little bit about live scope, just because it's an interesting topic to me. I know you guys are it's becoming a popular commodity out on the tour and stuff like that. But I want to ask you your opinion on it, just based on not only the introduction of that technology in the past few years, but also the influx of pressure. And it's kind of if you think about it and you really consider the timeline of when the pandemic happened, and so many people were going out and buying boats and getting out on the water, enjoying the outdoors. Not only does that increase the pressure on just weekend warriors, but also you guys that are out there trying to make a living, tournament fishing, and, even guys that are not, making a living off it, but, pursuing that. But you had the sonar, the forward-facing sonar technology come out, somewhere, it was really gaining popularity around the same time frame that, I would say that we're seeing a lot more pressure on the lakes. And I think that a lot, it's not just, the pandemic, but, it's very appealing to the young people to see the boats flying up and down, the Rangers, the Phoenixes flying up and down the lake. It's like motocross or, drag racing, man, I can go flying down the river, so in your experience so far using this technology, and I know this is kind of completely different from what we've been talking about, but How are you seeing that play I mean, come on, you guys have, 205 boats at Ross Barnett, maybe more than that.
2.5, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so quite a bit. You got 300 that are going to be out on Chickamauga this weekend. That's insane, and that's not a very big lake. But what's your experience with that? Do you think that that the fish are moving out in that they're suspending more, and that forward-facing sonar is really picking up and becoming a valuable tool?
Sometimes the fish put themselves in a position where the forward sonar is crucial. And there are some people that are better at using it more of the time, if that makes sense. For me, it's not something that I need to be staring at all day long. There are certain situations where I need to be able to look at the fish and watch my bait and put it right in front of them, like how I was catching some fish at Del Hollow on a Demiki rig. That's crucial. But what I have had to learn with it is people, especially like when I didn't have it, I thought, man, if I had that, I'd catch every fish in the lake. That's not the case. What I've had to learn is how to keep it from hindering my performance, because when you stare at that screen, you don't pick up on other things, and you're not going to see every fish when they're hunkered down close to the bottom, and you're not going to see them until you get real close to them. And I've learned to use it to, like, I love it when I'm fishing offshore stuff, because I can see exactly how far out in front of me the drop is, or what that turn in the drop does out in front of me. You can see depth change where you're casting. And to me, that's as important as being able to see the fish. You can also see the fish. I caught a 5-pounder at Rayburn this year in the first pro circuit event on a point that I scanned across my forward sonar, and I saw a bunch of big fish up there sunning. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Well, forward sonar pressure, I got about 70 feet from those fish, and they spooked, and they all swam out, and I happened to see one that stayed up there, and I threw a jerkbait by him and caught him. So that was a time that it definitely helped. But that there's countless times that I was probably staring at that thing when I was learning how to use it and how to incorporate it into my fishing arsenal, that I probably missed out on things that I would have noticed if I hadn't been staring at it.
Yeah.
So, but there are definitely, there's bass suspend, especially larger fish. They spend a lot of their lives suspended, especially in clear lakes. And that's something that we never really were able to take advantage of effectively until now. And that's why you see some guys that are really good at forward sonar that can catch them wherever they go with it. They're specifically targeting those suspended fish. Now, that's not. I don't think that's the best way to be a versatile angler, traveling the country on a tour level.
It definitely seems, in my opinion, just from watching the Wheelers and the Connells and other guys that are doing really, really well with it. Mark Daniels Jr. is one as well. But those guys, it seems like when you get into the sport, you develop yourself as an angler. You kind of learn, like, I'm really good at flip and brush, and that's kind of my style. I'm really good at that. I'm really good at fishing offshore. That's kind of my thing. And you kind of build yourself as an angler kind of based around that. It's kind of like your core, that's what you're really good at. A lot of guys, take that approach, maybe not, intentionally, but it just kind of seems to be what happens. But it seems like one of those deals, like, you got to be married to it. It has to be your thing, because if you're not, I was just watching the guys at Lake Fork in the BPT tour, and Wheeler, he's locked in on that thing. But a lot of other guys, like the Van Dams, that grew up, covering a lot of water and making a million casts in a day, they're kind of incorporating it into their day, but it's not really what they're married to. Is that kind of like what you're I guess, presumption of it is as well. If you want to be really good at it, you could just kind of, that be your deal and be married to it.
Yeah, I just think that it's like anything else. If I mean, there's guys that are one dimensional in other ways, like guys that are always going to flip, and you take them somewhere to a deep, clear lake when the fish are not on the bank and there's no stained water, and they go try to flip. That's the same thing as the forward sonar. There's gonna come a time where an angler is gonna have to stray from it, or they're gonna stumble. It's gonna happen. Now, a lot of these tournaments seem to line up on fisheries where there's a lot of bass, and then, so naturally there's going to be some bass and a suspended range, or where that forward sonar is effective. But yeah, I still think that if someone lives or dies by it, then eventually they're going to stumble.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll definitely be interesting to see how that progresses, with those, some of those guys that are, that seem to be so locked into it, if they'll be able to sustain that. But, man, I know you just come off the lake. I don't want to hold you, too long. I greatly appreciate you coming on, but we got to talk about the baits, man. It's what the people want to hear. So I guess the next 2 weeks, what's 3 baits that you could recommend to people, or 3 patterns that you would recommend to people in this area?
The shad spawn is I can't believe that I haven't found it here at Chick, but it's around. I mean, and when that breaks loose, you sure don't want to miss out on it. If I was going to pick 3 baits for it, let's talk Tennessee River type stuff, and a spook, a chatterbait, and a swim bait are probably my 3 things there. Aside from the shad spawn, I'm probably getting a little bit too in depth with it, but like aside from the shad spawn, we got fish moving out, starting to make their way towards deeper water, and a football jig really is my go-to thing there. A 3/4 ounce crawler jig. That's just a big fish catching bait, and
yeah,
it's very effective to fish those drops and offshore, points and ledges and stuff, catching those fish moving out.
Yeah. All right. Not bad. So go and get you some football jigs. I'm sure David's got plenty of all that stock. Mentioning David and primary tackle. Guys, we're going to do this. I'm going to show you the giveaway. So our buddy over at primary tackle has put together a little prize package for somebody that's lucky enough to guess Jimmy's day 1 weight. So, Jimmy, you got to make it interesting, man. But you're going to get some crawl cane, a couple of Black Bass Tackle Industries jigs, and it looks like the clone Ringo, what you were just catching on down there at Ross Barnett, and some tungsten weights to go along with that give you that Texas rig. So day 1 weight, I'm going to create an official post after this video goes off live. Probably have it up just within 30 minutes after we go off live. So be sure to comment on that posting. And so you guys launch out day 1 Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sure you probably don't know when you're due in yet.
No, I won't know that until Wednesday evening.
Okay. All right. So day 1 weight, not total weight, day 1 weight, and whoever gets closest to Jimmy's weight, we're going to send you guys that little prize package. So, man, dude, I know it's kind of last minute, man. I greatly appreciate you coming on and hanging out with this dude, talking fishing. Always a pleasure having you on. You've been a big member, or a big appearance on David's show for the longest time, and this is kind of like a little new thing we're doing, kind of mostly kayak, but we like talking to everybody. So there's you guys are the ones that we look up to, so we definitely enjoy talking to y'all. But anything else you'd like to add before you let you go get some rest?
No, I really enjoyed it. I appreciate catching up with you, Justin, and thank you for having me on. And everybody out there guessing my weight, don't be throwing no 30 pounds up or telling y'all it's tough. So, if I come in with 10 pounds or less, please don't be disappointed. It's going to be a tough event.
Hope we didn't put no
Hopefully, I
pressure on you.
surprise myself and can bring a good bag to the scales on day one.
Yeah. Well, guys, I see some people commenting on here, so it's gonna be. I'm gonna do another post with the picture. So don't post up your weights here. Post it on that original, on that official listing on the Lines In Facebook page. So all right, man, we'll let you go, dude. Hope you do well this weekend. Good luck to you, and we'll all be watching.
All right, thank you, Justin. Y'all have a good evening.
Absolutely, man. All right, bud.
Bye.
All right, guys. So great show. Always enjoy talking with Jimmy. He's always open to filling us in on his mental approach. Even some of the baits and stuff like that. But I like talking to him because he just got a great story. He went the route that most people go. So he just has a very relatable story. Working his way up through the ranks, making it to making his dream come true. So it's inspirational for me. It's inspirational for a lot of people, that know him, to see him accomplish his dreams. And, we see that so much in professional, athletes in general. Not very many people were just born into it with money or the skill, whatever it takes. It's, a lot of times it comes from a lot of hard work, and he's proven, he's definitely one that proves that. But I just want to say, guys, thanks as always for tuning in here on Lines In Live. Thank you again to Battleborn Batteries as well as Primary Tackle for sponsoring this show. We enjoy getting on here and hanging out with you guys. And be sure again to be on the lookout for that official posting that we'll do that giveaway with, and it's just going to be Jimmy's day one weight on Thursday. So you got to guess it before he weighs in. So you got to have that in. Actually, I should have mentioned that. Sorry. Got to have that in before Thursday. So today and tomorrow is when you have to enter in that contest. All right, guys, we're signing out. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next week.